You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Okay, let's do some life advice here. lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. I'm going to bring this one up because I had this happen to me sort of as well today as I'm on the road. All right, our guy's checking in from, we're not going to say where. He's 6'5", 230, mostly dad bod. His clean and jerk is 170. His snatch is 110. Thanks for that. But there's a reason he did that. Something happened to me tonight at the gym. I need to know if I handled it correctly. A little background. The gym I go to is also where I work. It's a large facility for the military, open to the public. He's not military. I'm currently covering maternity leave and working from home, but working out 3 or 4 times a week and having to occasionally go in for my current position. I'm frequently at this gym and very familiar with the entire facility and the regular users. I am into Olympic lifting. I guess I'm the equivalent of a street ball version of Olympic lifting. I've never been coached, but I've developed some proficiency. I entered CrossFit lifting room and placed. Oh, okay. All right. So we're in it. Now we're in it. So he goes into the CrossFit area where he works out at this military facility. He put his shoes, snap clips, water bottle, keys besides the usual rack that he uses. He pulled out one of the good bars and set it in the rack on the J-cups. He grabs a bench. He puts that beside the rack. He also put the plates that he was going to use around the rack area. So he took the plates off and then put them around the squat rack. At the time, there were probably 2 other people using stuff in the room. I proceeded to leave the room for a basketball court to begin my warm-up. It consists of mobility and band work, finished off some light pitching of a lacrosse ball, helps keep my back loose. I probably returned to the CrossFit lifting room after 10 to 15 minutes. Upon entering the room, there were now 6 people present, 2 regulars, one of which is also an Olympic lifter using a rack, who I haven't spoken to prior to last night. 2 randoms doing bicep curls on the benches, 2 juice monkeys, definitely not military, who were using my rack. Needless to say, when I saw my rack had been taken, I was livid. It appeared as though the one juice monkey was training the second one. They were doing bench press and the bar completely loaded. More on this later. I walked over to the far side of my rack and began gathering my items. The trainer juice monkey said something to me. It was a little tricky to hear as my headphones in, listening to your he's listening to the Steve Smith pod. Shout out, thank you. Some of the effect of, quote, "Oh, were you using this rack?" I quickly snapped back, "Yes, but just stay there." I decided that response is the best course of action instead of making them move. During my rest breaks in my workout, I tend to observe what others are doing in the room. Every time the one juice monkey would go to do his bench set, the spring clip would pop off the bar and the end plate would wobble a little bit. It seemed a bit dangerous, especially considering the other juice monkey was more interested in taking photos and videos of the maxed out bar. It was then that I realized the bar was maxed with 10-pound plates. So I counted the plates and found out there was 100 pounds aside. So we're talking 245. So instead of putting on 45s in a 10, they put on a bunch of 10s to make it look like it was a ton of weight. All right. Well, that's not great. Side note, my foul mood was somewhat broken after hearing about your duck photo. All right. Well, glad we could help. After they completed their workout, they cleaned up their weights, but left the bench and plates that I'd originally put out on that rack. Not surprising. And I thought about pulling the staff card and telling them to clean it up, but thought that would be a bit much of a dick move. Instead, they left and I finished my workout. As I was putting my weights away, the other regular Olympic lifter looked over at me and I removed my headphones. We had a discussion about the two, what was going on. I told the other guy about being torn on how to handle having my rack taken and whether I should have made them move. He told me that he would definitely made them move and have to relocate all of their 10-pound plates. So this is where I need help. Did I handle this the best way I should, or should I have made them move? And he sent me a picture of what his setup is, which is really important to this whole thing. So it's the rack. He's got the bench over there, and he has all these plates around. There's 6 plates on the ground around a rack. All right, here's the problem. You sound like a really nice guy. You set up everything, put all your shit down, and you left for 10 or 15 minutes. So I just don't have a ton of sympathy for you. I don't. Because if the gym were busy and you showed up and you saw this rack not being used with shit everywhere for 10 or 15 minutes and somebody claims it like it's a dinner reservation, it's just not the way it works. Again, I was in a new place the other day. The squat rack was taken. The Smith machine was taken. There were plates out by the Smith machine that the person was clearly doing some sort of, extension stuff where their toes were on the plates. And then that's how they were using the Smith machine. And then the leg press on top of that was all fucking loaded up with 4 plates on each side. And then I realized it was like some girl that's like the only attractive girl at the gym. So no one ever gives her a hard time about leaving her shit everywhere. And because I saw it and I was like, you gotta be kidding me with this. And then I was in there this morning and then lo and behold, it was the exact same deal. I think she does legs 6 days a week. Again, it's not my home gym. I don't know much about it, but I realized that all these guys are like, whatever, we like looking at her. So no one says anything to her. But I'd like to interview someone but I don't know how we could ever do it where it would work, where someone's like, hey, we want to have somebody on who leaves shit around all the time, never puts their stuff back. We just want to understand you. We want to get in your head because it's so easy to clean up after yourself. And yet some of you refuse to do it. Like you think it's your world. So I don't think that's necessarily your deal here. And I'll admit the Olympic lifting stuff, that protocol is a little different than what I'm used to in just sort of normal gyms. But I'll also explain it this way. Like I had a buddy, they got a college thread. He's an active guy. He doesn't lift a lot. I think he was away. This was pre-COVID. He was away working. So he's staying at a hotel. And he was like, Russillo, what's the call here? He goes, I went down to the gym in the hotel. There was one squat rack. It was actually a pretty decent hotel gym. And there was a guy that had just started. And I was like, maybe I'll do a little legs here and do some squats. And the guy had just gotten started. And I said, hey, how many more do you have to go? And the guy goes, like, I'm going to be here for a little bit, 10 minutes or so, which actually isn't very long in the Olympic world. And my friend was like, he wouldn't let me work in. I was like, wait, what'd you do? He goes, I just asked, hey, do you mind if I work in? And he said, no. He's like, can you believe that? I was like, yeah, actually, I can. I go, you just don't, if you're not working out with the other person, protocol is that, squat rack, guys usually just don't let somebody else work in that they don't know. I mean, somebody might, but somebody saying no to you in that instance isn't all that rare. And he couldn't believe it, right? He couldn't believe it. And I go, this is another one of those cases where, and I don't know if this is specific to this country, but we do this a lot, where we tell the people that are doing the thing, that live in that world, the people that aren't from the outside always tell the people on the inside, like, oh, you're doing it wrong, or something else is wrong. The best equivalent I can come up with is whenever I read something about ESPN or something that happened, because I still have enough friends. I talk to people about stuff that happens, and I'll read something and be like, that's not what happened. That's not how you would handle it. That's the wrong take. Like, that's completely wrong. And then if I say to somebody, yeah, that's not really how it works. And they'd be like, well, they should do it this way. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what happens. Like, yeah, but they should. I'm like, okay, cool. I walked around there for 15 years. You've been there 0 days, but you're going to tell me. So my buddy asking about the squat rack, I was like, yeah, it's just not the way it works. And he was like, well, that's stupid. That's wrong. I was like, yeah, but you're the one that's wrong. And you're admitting you don't even know this world. So back to the email. The fact that the guys took pictures, that they used 10-pound plates, that whole deal. I just don't know what gym where it's cool if it's now busy and stuff is taken up, where you're allowed to just put all your shit down and then nobody's allowed to use that rack. Again, how would you feel if there was an empty rack with stuff everywhere and no one had used it for 10 to 15 minutes? I would say in the future, do your band work ahead of time and then go over to the rack. I think you already know that. But again, I don't know. I don't go to any of these CrossFit spots. So I don't know if that's cool. I mean, some people just take forever in the racks. It sucks. But I don't think you're allowed to just set up and then not be back, because that's what sucks about people just putting stuff down like that, because you never quite know. And then if you get sick of it, you're like, all right, hey, I'm going to move some stuff. And then the person shows up and like, I can't believe you moved it. And it's like, well, I can't believe you were gone. So Kyle, anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's creating like a force field around this thing, like almost like it's like bait car or something. Like you're begging, like, how long can I leave and see if somebody's going to get in this car or not? Like, I don't know. Isn't that one of the most coveted things? I mean, I'm not a huge lifter, but every time I would go to a gym, I feel like there's always like 2 out of the 3 benches are in rotation. If not, there's somebody waiting, right? So it's like definitely a hot commodity, but more like relatable to my life. It's sort of like a bar stool. Like the bar was getting a little packed. This was like a week and a half ago. The bar was getting a little packed right next to Pantages there, big theater. It let out, and I went and I burned down a red outside, and I put the coaster on top of my beer, just like you're supposed to. And I came back and I was gone for like 5 minutes, but whatever. The bar was starting to get a little packed. I noticed it. Then I came back in and these 2 girls were sitting in my seat and she's looking at me. She didn't even move my drink. She's like, oh, did you want your seat back? And initially I said yes. And then I just kind of looked around and I saw there was a different seat, not where I was sitting, but over there. And I was like, you know what? I'll just move. It's okay. Like she clearly knew that my stuff was there. It didn't matter. It was a public seat at the bar. There's only so many. And then I just went to the curl rack, if you will, and just sat over at the end of the bar instead. I know that I could have made us think about it, but I know I really didn't have a total claim to anything. It's a public thing.
Yeah, she was on your squat rack, and then you decided to do a little thigh blasting because it was open, because nobody ever uses that.
Yeah, and like 10 and 5 minutes is different than 15. So I mean, it's really like I just ran to go fill up my water at the water fountain, and then somebody's like sitting on my thing.
A good bartender does a better job making sure that doesn't happen, by the way.
Yeah, dark room would have never happened, but frolic room, I'm still kind of feeling things out.
Yeah, you'll get there, buddy. I believe that. And by the way, she knew exactly what she was doing. That's one of the male-female things where women get away with that. And they always know what they're doing because they just know that most of us are going to be like, all right, whatever. Especially if she's attractive. She's like, I've been doing this my whole life, getting away with shit.
Yeah, she
So,
wasn't. And I actually
she
did want to
wasn't.
make her get up, but I looked around, I saw there was one, because with Frolic Room, it's like a small bar, no windows. There's probably about 15 seats at the bar, and then there's the seats around the walls, which has like a small little bar, like that you can rest your elbows on, but that's it. And there's like you're facing the wall, and I never want to be there. That's like you're in fucking timeout. So like it was actually the stakes were kind of high, and there was luckily one seat, but I was gonna be like, I was ready to say like, yeah, I do want it back, and we'll see what happens. But when I saw the one seat, I changed my game up. But for like a solid 10 seconds there, I was like, yeah, what are you gonna do when I say I do want my seat back?
Do this. It would have been hilarious too if her friend was sitting there and then you get up and then her friend stayed there and you were like, huh, she's kind of beat, huh? And she's like, what? How about we just do this? Put Frolic Room on notice, and this is your warning. Next time Kyle goes to crank down a dart, within a reasonable amount of time, 5 minutes is fine. We expect his seat to be there when he comes back.
Yeah, it's never longer than 5 minutes. And the other problem is they have the stools with like the rounded bottoms, so it's not like you can kind of push it up against the bar and then people will really get the idea. Like if your drink's covered with a coaster, that's one thing. I mean, you would think everyone knows, but if the seat is also cocked, leaned up against the bar, you should pretty much know, but it would be kind of dangerous because it's got one of those rounded bottoms, so it could just really fall and hurt someone. So it wasn't really an option.
Final email here, because this is going to be quick. 6'5", 225, 10% body fat. Congrats. I'm 31 and recently engaged to a girl who's extremely out of my league. I know the stats above don't seem that bad, but I do check the other important relationship boxes. Good job, loyal, trustworthy. But to be frank, I'm pretty unfortunate looking. To make matters worse, he's bald. So there you go. Or about to be. So he's telling us he's not hot and his hair isn't great, but he's a pretty good-sized guy. My question is how to deal with a massive difference in looks. I know a lot of guys would say, quote, be happy and enjoy it, but it's hard. When the other guy checks out my girl, all right, so this is out kicking your coverage is what our guy is saying here. So he's 31, he's not hot, and apparently his fiance is. He goes, when every other guy checks her out, I feel as if they're judging me and her because of the difference and want to take their shot with her. I get guys are going to check her out simply because she's attractive and has nothing to do with me, but it's become difficult to enjoy a night out with her. In your head, you size up every guy you come across like you want to fight him. I know confidence is a huge factor in these situations, and working out gives me a short-term boost of it, but it isn't a permanent solution. I should also mention the issues that are not with my fiance because she doesn't reciprocate the looks, and I trust her fully. Any advice for us guys who've outkicked their coverage? Yeah, find something else to fucking complain about, all right? This is like writing in and saying, hey, I'm rich, but I'm running out of things to buy. We can't help you because you don't need any. Be happy is the only advice that I can give you.
Word. I'm in the same situation, way out of my league, but we've been going strong now for a couple of years. And I just like whenever it happened, like we're in LA, there's always dudes like standing on a sidewalk, like selling hoodies. And they're like, oh, you should come be with me. And then I'll just make a joke to her as we walk away that guy's selling hoodies. Like, just be funny in those moments when you're feeling insecure. I imagine if you're ugly, you're probably pretty funny.
Yeah. And would you want it to be the other way around? Like, would you want, people to be like, wow, you're so much hotter than your significant other? Probably not. So like you got it made here. You're fine. But I need more on Kyle and these random people that just talk shit to you on the side of the road, telling you that you're not hot and that your girlfriend's way hotter than you are.
I mean, there's really not much else to say. It just kind of follows us everywhere. Luckily she's busy. She works a lot and I'm busy. So it doesn't happen all the time. Happened a lot more pre-pandemic. But, I know where I shine. And that's like being tall and being funny, not necessarily being, rock solid and the best fashion or anything. So I know my lane and I pick my shots.
I don't think you're unattractive. I think you're a bad dresser.
Well, I didn't say, yeah, exactly.
But I think that's your choice. And you give great advice on any potential criminal situation. So I kind of more fascinated with the dynamic of the hoodie salesman just shooting their shot all the time because you're not small.
Yeah, but Melrose, those guys have guns and knives, and it's like and not even like not even that it comes down to that. It's just almost like a throwaway line. It's almost like a threat. Like he's
Yeah,
throwing that
right.
line to 300 people, and for weeks it's not working. And then maybe one time he'll get somebody who's like just not just like walking with a friend, and it's not a boyfriend. And like I don't know if it ever works for that guy, but I
I'm
just
saying
know
it seems like the return on investment there would
he
not
is
be great.
chumming the waters. It's not
You're
even
more
he's throwing
likely to get
lines.
fought than you are to actually have change the girl's mind about who she should be with.
Yeah, but they're usually in a group of 1 or 2 guys, and it's just like maybe they're actually looking for the fight. Even who knows? But we just walk
Yeah,
away, and then I say the joke to her. I don't say the joke in front of the crazy guy selling hoodies. I say it to her, like
and we all know too, if the knife is over 3 inches, the rule is that you have to
I'm out.
anything
I'm
over
out.
3 inches, right?
Yeah.
we gotta bounce. Would you say you've been going strong though for a couple of years? Because don't you guys constantly break up?
So super volatile in the beginning, super volatile. And I made
Okay.
the mistake. I was like watching football with Bill, and I would just kind of tell him on the weekends, like, oh yeah, I've been bouncing around for a while, and now I found this one I really like. She's the hottest girl's ever talked to me. And then I'd be like, oh shit. It's like after a Friday or Saturday night, I'd be like, oh dude, you won't believe it. And then we record the podcast on Monday, and he talks about it. And I was like, oh, wait a second. I didn't know. So then that became like an episodic thing when I was just kind of telling my uncle, who was like my only family out here, what was going on. So
And he shared it with everybody.
It took me a little while to realize what was happening, and then I was like, well, I guess it would maybe hurt the ratings if I stopped. So I just kind of let it go. But she doesn't know to this day that it was a whole thing. So, but I mean, we've been 3+ years without a breakup. So,
Oh, well, that's great news. All right, great way to end the podcast. Okay, good stuff, everybody. Thanks to Kyle and Steve, the Ryen Russillo podcast. Check us out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We get the NBA season starting. We may even do a little baseball. We're TBD. We'll see how that goes. All right, please subscribe. Spotify, Ringer. Talk to you Friday.